Hello everyone and welcome back for the last time to this Intel Extreme Masters Katowice Qualifier, which is being played on the European server, and it's all Europeans that will qualify today. We know two of them. We know that Utermo and Showtime have already made it, and now it's time to figure out who is going to be our last qualifier out of this qualifier.
I'm going to stop you right there, by the way. I don't know if Katowice is a city in Italy or something, but we're in Katowice. All right, so get it right.
Look at me, Todd.
Katowice.
I think when I say it this convincing, I sound right. Over here on the left top side of Odyssey, we're looking at the main base of the man who's had an absolutely phenomenal run today. He took out players like Elaser and Serral, and his opponent as well. It is Nerchio.
That decal, though. His opponent in the red, it is Asterian's Harstem.
You know, I'm actually really sad, Todd. I forgot something. I bought a little present for Harstem a while ago. He doesn't know this. I actually haven't told this story to anybody, but I bought a little present for Harstem because you know how he's always like the captain and the captain is streaming. And you know, the captain in football, right, has got a, how do you call it, like a captain band around his arm?
The thing around the arm, yeah.
Yep. So actually it was in a fine art store, which obviously is my favorite football team. And then I saw that you could buy these green, white, green, which are the colors of Rotterdam band. And Harstem actually lives in Vlaardingen, which is technically Rotterdam. It's like
really? I thought he supports the Ajax.
I know, and that's the problem with Harstem. Great dude.
He does?
Yeah, supports the wrong team. So I actually got him a captain band of Feyenoord and green, white, green. And I was supposed to give it to him at Leipzig. But of course, I am a donkey, and I actually forgot it at home.
Isn't he going to burn it if he cheers for another team anyway?
No, I can convert him into, you know, supporting the right team.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
didn't work for me.
He
when
lives.
He bought me a Feyenoord shirt.
Yeah, well, I tried, Todd.
What did I do? I gave it right back to you or something.
No comment. Never get you a present again, that's for sure. Anyways.
Face the guy. What happened to the last present about you?
No comment.
You lost it at the airport. You left it. You left the bag at the airport.
I know, that was
like
terrible.
a brand new Hugo Boss shirt.
I feel really bad about it, Todd.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, I was terrible, but after 20 hours of traveling, sometimes my brain just isn't there. Anyways, let's talk about StarCraft, guys. We saw that Overlord getting picked up in the main base. We saw it did scout the Stargate, or did it barely miss it? Okay, actually missed it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. You always know pretty much against Protoss. Then again, the one time that you don't, it could be really bad. Thing about Nerchio is, though, he almost never gets pneumatized carapace, I feel like. And now the follow-up scout is going to be even more, if not more important than the initial scouts. In which case, like, if he doesn't see that Harstem's going to something like, you know, glaives and mass gates and stuff, it's going to be very hard for him to hold.
Harstem did it quite a few times today, eh?
He did it on this map against Nerchio.
Yep, not the usual 7 or 8 adepts, but he showed up with 14 or 16 adepts. He did it against True, did it against Nemchar, and indeed did it against Nerchio as well. And I think it really could have worked against Nerchio earlier today on this map. But it was all a little bit too late. He is once again getting resonating glaives quite quickly, though. This could be a little bit the way that Showtime does it, right? The way that Showtime did it earlier. You shade out with 7, 8 adepts. You try to fight, and then a few more show up, and that's when you hit with the resonating glaives.
Yeah, I have to say, the previous time that they played, I really feel like on this map, Harstem could have done a lot better with the adepts. He was a little bit hesitant, and instead of going for the main base, he stayed on the natural and stuff. He didn't try to reinforce and stuff. I feel like if it had been Neve or Showtime executing that build, they would have done a lot better. But this time around, we do see a third base and a robo starting. So maybe Harstem with a little bit more of a passive approach at first. No, he's still whopping a lot of these guys.
We see Nerchio with a bunch of roaches, Todd. And I feel if you make 3 overlords after you already made 6 roaches, there is a good chance that Mr. Arthur, King Arthur, is not going to stop building roaches and zerglings here. While I say that, he actually drops down an evolution chamber. So maybe these were safety roaches to deal with the adepts, and he's indeed going to go back to droning. I'm just surprised to see him make like 4 overlords to only make drones.
Yeah, maybe he forgot for some time and he figured out he had the minerals anyway. And remember, Nerchio might be King Arthur, but last I checked, De Koning means the king.
That's true. It sure does. That's a very fast robotics bay, actually. Curious to see. Maybe, I think Harstem does not expect this amount of roaches. I think he's just expecting some good old Hydra Link. He's going to spot these roaches now, and there's a small chance he lets the shade finish up, especially if he goes with some good old multi-prong. How many drones can Harstem take down here?
Yeah, the first attack, sadly, wasn't on the drones. He does get 4 anyway. Oh, if he lets that go through here.
Nerchio is out. I don't think you can, though. He's gonna
Just
let
with
two.
two, I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's
Just back then, even if you get only 3 drones, it's worth.
you got
But 2, no.
Still worth
Not
it.
worth.
I
It's
mean,
bad.
excellent defense here actually by Nerchio. Obviously, roaches are good to defend against adepts, but there's one downside of roaches, especially before they have roach speed. Off creep, they are incredibly slow, and often you're just kind of chasing adepts, but you can never really catch them, and that's why some Zergs prefer to defend with Zerglings and Banelings. But I actually think Nerchio did this all really well, and now he's going to try to apply some pressure on the other side of the map, but there's one Immortal here, and Big Daddy the Immortal is going to shut this down.
And Sentry is ready to force field as well. Nerchio not able to do anything here with the counter attack. And he's ahead by just so few walkers that, I mean, if Harstem can get any kind of hint that this is the case, I mean, he should be happy, to be honest, anyway, with what he's seeing. Like, he's got Immortals against Roaches, 2 of them, and he's taking straight into Colossus. Like, he's already got the transition into Hydralisk covered here with this army that he's getting Harstem, so...
Yeah, so Nerchio's got multiple choices now, right? He can either go Lurkers, which, I mean, we see him go try on the Lurker dance, so there's a very realistic option he does that. But I would actually like to see him rush up to a Hive here. I think with Colossus, it's unlikely that Harstem is just going to run across the map and try to win the game. And I actually think if you can get Hive tech quite quick against this robo-heavy playstyle, Immortals, Colossus, there's a good chance that maybe you can get a fight with a Viper or 2 before the High Templars are
Or
up.
we've seen him make magic happen with Corruptors as well.
Yeah, I mean, earlier today it didn't really seem that Nerchio wanted to go Hive in his games. So even in this game, if he would potentially have the time to go for a Hive, I am not necessarily sure that we are going to see one, as he's setting his units up in a pretty strong defensive manner. He's going to swing around, he's going to try to maybe do something about that gold, but I don't think the Roaches are going to be successful in this endeavor.
If they could get a quick cancel, maybe they can pull back after, but force fields are ready, and Nerchio is forced back here. Yeah, tag on top of the Roaches is going to prevent them from coming back anytime soon.
So I guess Nerchio is just going to go for some good old multi-prong with Roaches, Hydras, and a bunch of Lurkers. Still no Hive.
Nerchio is very good at sieging with Lurkers. If he's able to set those up, even on the goal base and stuff, that's going to be a very hard position for Harstem to engage into. And the thing is, okay, actually, no, he goes back into Immortals. If you make too many Colossi, it becomes counterproductive after some point. So you want to stop at just a few, usually like 3, I think is a good number.
I like 3 as well. 3,
Immortals
4.
are just so much better against stuff like Lurkers. Even Roach-based armies. Like obviously if the opponent's only making Lingbane Hydra, you only want Colossus, right?
Yep. It's nice to have a little bit of a mix, right? Because Immortals are very tanky against almost any composition. We do see that Spire being thrown on at the 4th base as well, as Nerchio is going to try to swing in the top side. Is that a stasis ward? Nope, that's just a single adept. But there is the stasis on the high ground. Doesn't really get much done, though. Harstem is so far doing a good job in splitting up his army. This is exactly what he's expecting out of Nerchio, and so far it's exactly what's happening. But I don't think he has enough on the north side, though, Todd.
Yeah, even without Lurkers to siege here, Nerchio has enough army here to be able to take out this gold base.
He's just kind of overrunning Harstem. Maybe Harstem overcommitted to the south side. He doesn't really have that many units here. Those force fields are excellent, but that's just a few Roaches that he shaves off in the end. Harstem desperately needs the rest of his army to show up here as well. Even though he is doing a very good job on the south side, I think it's safe to say that the north side really didn't go his way at all. Losing the gold and a couple probes, that's quite painful.
Yeah, you can't let that happen, and now it's going to be the Lurkers being morphed so close to that base as well. Like I said, Nerchio is very good at sieging, and I think he might be able to identify that Harstem may not be ready on the 3rd base. If those Lurkers go forward and siege all right next to one another, it's going to be so hard for Harstem to actually engage into them, and they're going to do just that.
Yep, they're going to siege right on top of this Robo. That cannon is going to fall as well. I'm not even sure if you got an Observer here. I mean, of course, there is still that Oracle that's going to attack the majority of this army. But that Robo is going to go down, and I think a lot of probes are going to go down as well. Even if Harstem cleans this up in the end, he's going to pay a very hefty price for it. Most likely, I mean, almost all of his Immortals are going to go down.
It seems like they might just be too much here for Nerchio. He's coming in from multiple sides. He's going to try to chase the Colossus.
Damn.
And he gets all of them here, as well as all the Immortals, except that one guy here that's trying to survive. GG gets called, and Nerchio will take game number 1 here.
Just like that, eh? I mean,
after a very strong siege.
Of course, he had a good early game as well. Really didn't take much damage at all. Harstem tried to pull him out of position with the adepts. Couple times, just 2 adepts here, 2 adepts there. If you don't react quickly, or if the roaches are too far out of position, 2 adepts can kill 4 or 5 drones very quickly. You do that twice, and your attack is successful. But Nerchio didn't lose a lot, but then I still felt things were going all right for Harstem. It felt like he had a good read on what was going on, but maybe
he seems to struggle with splitting a lot more than somebody like Showtime. Showtime is just so good at splitting against these attacks, whereas maybe like Harstem is struggling a lot more.
Maybe too much on the south side and not enough on the north.
Yeah.
But I think if he's on top of the ramp at his gold base, then I think he's fine, because he can drop force fields there.
But we see the entire map, right?
Yep,
like
no, of course.
Having vision and stuff is very difficult. You could put a couple observers in the middle of the map, but those can get sniped with overseers as well. So.
And having the Oracle, of course, well, there's only so much energy that you can work with. Revelation got nerfed a little bit as well. Used to last quite a bit longer. I mean, those were the days. You tag once and you can just put it in the corner for the next minute. These days it's a little bit harder. Good maneuvers there by Nerchio. Good army movement. And just well done. Very clean game. What I liked, Todd, is that it really felt for a long time that it was going to be a lurker attack. But then when Nerchio felt that he could outposition Harstem, he didn't really necessarily make it a lurker attack. It was a Roach Hydra attack that then became a lurker siege.
Maybe if he had waited for lurkers, he would have been too late. So maybe he identified he could do that. The way he did it is very smart too, because at the front, or like at the bottom rather, bottom part, near Harstem's natural is where he showed the initial units. That kind of made Harstem panic, and then he left a lot of units there. You also have to think about reinforcements. You have to anticipate the opponent. At the end of the day, you don't have the whole information. And Harstem was like, okay, the scary attack is at the bottom because he's going to reinforce there. Left most of his army there, but no, the scary attack was at the top on his gold base. And then as soon, even if that siege hadn't worked, just losing the gold base was going to put him in trouble because Nerchio has his own 4th base. He can very easily go into a 5th.
He had it already in the left bottom side even.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
I feel like if, I don't know, like when you see Showtime play, he keeps tabs better on the Zerg for sure, I think, than most Protosses. Even now, like after the gold base died, you should know that lurkers could be on the way though. So I feel like maybe using a revelation or spotting the units morphing there could give you a big tell that basically you need to stay around there and make sure they don't siege. If the lurkers make it to your 3rd base this fast and burrow there, I feel like you've already lost the game.
Especially if they're that close and on top of a ramp. I mean, you don't know exactly how much there are, even though they all went down the ramp eventually. But just well done by Nerchio, a very clean game. We saw a couple of amazing PVZs throughout the day. I think my highlight was Namchar versus Showtime Game 4 on Neon Violet Square. Damn, that was just an absolute bloodbath as well, Todd. I mean, we've seen a couple of them today. I must say, Utermo against Nerchio on Catalyst was... No, was it? No, Starro, actually. Excuse me, guys. Starro versus Utermo on Catalyst was awesome. It's been a long day. We started at 6 and it's midnight. No, it's actually 1, right? I think that clock is wrong. Oh, no, it's... Oh, actually, it's only been 6 hours. Feels longer. I don't know why. Too much fun, Todd.
Yeah. That game, the one you mentioned, Namchar against Showtime, that was like Ngannou against Miocic, round 1.
Yeah, full
To anybody that watched UFC, they will understand.
No, they came out swinging
back and forth, and you at the edge of your seat, wondering who is, if it's going to go wrong or go well for someone at any moment.
And in the end it did. We're getting ready to hop into game number 2 between this man, spawning on the right top side of Blackpink, who is not down 0-1. He's actually up 1-0, guys. From Poland, it is Nerchio.
His opponent in the blue, it is Kevin the Koning, aka the King, Harstem. It's pretty badass to have your name being the King. What's Van der Kooi?
Like
made of wood?
From the cage.
Really? No.
Or of the cage.
What?
Yeah, Koi means cage.
But like, wait, what does that mean? In like what context?
I mean, it's very odd.
From jail or?
No, more like a, you know, a little cage where you can crawl in and you can lock yourself in it. Or you can put a dog in a cage or a cat in a cage. That kind of a little
That's
thing.
your name?
I mean, you don't really see it as that. I mean, Dutch names are weird, right? I mean, it's hard to translate names. But technically, Koi means cage. I'm a cage warrior, Todd. You haven't thought about that.
Get back in your cage. I'm gonna lock you and throw away the key. In France, like some of the typical names, they are like the door or the chair. You know, it's kind of silly. Like way to get harassed in school to have one of those names.
There are some very odd names in the Netherlands as well. Once upon a time I learned the history about it. It's because when they started introducing last names, a bunch of people in the Netherlands thought it was very stupid. So they picked the most random name ever, and like to be funny because they thought it was going to be scrapped a few years later. So some people have a last name called Naakt geboren, which means like born naked and stuff. Yeah, those guys were just memeing like in, I don't know, the 17th
Some
century.
absolute degenerates.
Yeah, because they didn't think it would stick, this last name thing. They're
The
like,
Twitch chat before it existed.
yes. I don't know how long ago that is, but it's a very long time ago.
Is it me or that's a Stargate pylon?
I mean, I would actually... Maybe he just feels like he's sports. The problem is that if you don't go Stargate, and your opponent knows you don't go Stargate, there's a good chance they just make roaches and lings and run to the other side of the map, and it becomes a very tough hold. Of course, if you go gate into Nexus, it is more doable than a
What if you do a Roddy wall to try and bait it out of them, but then make enough units?
Oh, well, Roach Ling all in is, you know, walls don't help that much against it. Weird walls help against Baneling Bust, but they don't help that much against Roach Ravagers and Zerglings. But fortunately for Harstem, it is a Stargate, and I don't really think that Nerchio is going to do that build. I don't see Nerchio choose a lot these days, especially not early game. Maybe in a ZvZ every now and then, but...
He doesn't need to, he's just so solid. Then again, the same could be said about Serral, but he still kind of does it here and there, actually more than before as of late.
Yeah, Serral, one of the big favorites coming into the qualifier today. He was definitely my pick, and if I would have had a second pick, I would have probably gone for Elaser as well. It just made sense to go for those two. But both of them, Todd, fell to Nerchio. Must feel really good if you're Nerchio right now. You've got Leipzig coming up and you just took out Elaser and Serral. You're like, well, I guess ZvZ is a check mark, right?
Yeah, he tweeted about it. Seems pretty happy because usually it's been a bit of his Achilles heel. Like obviously, there are other players than Zergs that he can lose to, but they have to be the absolute top of those races.
I mean, Nerchio is Mr. Consistency, but sometimes he's almost even too consistent, right? You're like, you know, I can see him make top 4, but then top 4 is exactly what he makes. Because the first time he runs into like a Neep, a Showtime, or a Serral, that's often the end, or like quite a few times he laser as well. But does seem to be the case today. Really got quite far, put up a really good fight as well.
Did you see Neeb when she's at Delphi, by the way?
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. I didn't see everything, but I saw quite a few games.
You saw the score in finals?
Yes, and I saw the game he lost.
I saw it too.
Yeah. I mean,
Good old Neeb.
I almost feel that Neeb was just so overconfident that I think losing your Nexus that early on by cancelling it is obviously a really big mistake, and it's really bad.
Is he being overconfident though, or is he just like...
No, I honestly think that he's like, I could struggle and try to win this game and then maybe end up losing it, or I'll just give him this one, I'll win the rest anyway. Like, that's almost...
I think, I don't know if I would check it out to overconfidence though, because historically he's not a very confident player all the time.
I think he's silently very confident. This is actually quite nice for Harstem, guys. I mean, he didn't kill a drone, but he forces 4 drones to morph into Spore Crawlers. Well, ooh, that Oracle takes a lot of damage as well. So that means that 4 drones are temporarily not mining, and obviously 4 times minus 18 or 17. It adds up. It's something, Todd.
It is. Doing that math on stream, I'm liking it. And now we see a depth.
4 times 17? 68. Don't worry, mate. Just because Mr. Bitter
You got me!
Just because Mr. Bitter can do math on stream doesn't mean I can do it.
Yeah. Considering you were saying Katowice, I don't even want to imagine what he would have said to call the name of the city.
I'm better with numbers than I am with words.
Oh, is he going to shade it? No.
This time it is a
faking it.
This time there is a Baneling nest, by the way. So obviously these Banelings can come in quite handy. He doesn't have them yet. I think that Nerchio feels that this time the commitment isn't that big by Harstem. But once again, these Adepts do have Resonating Glaives. He doesn't dare to let it finish up, though. It feels like Harstem is a little bit more scared this game than he was in some of the previous games.
I mean, he's down 1 game. Even though it's best of 5, like there's not much room for mistakes here. If Harstem ever was to play his A game, it's right now. And it's been a long day as well, like 6 hours, you know, that's a pretty long time in a lot of series for these guys to be playing.
And of course they warm up. I mean, these guys don't wake up at 5 p.m., you know, it's like, we gotta qualify.
Well, maybe
today.
some of them do, but usually the guys that do that don't go far.
No, very rarely. I think any of these guys that made it very far, they're gonna wake up at a relatively early time, probably play a couple games, have a proper lunch, play a few more games.
Go to gym.
Yeah, I would do that very early, right? Or maybe at like 12, 1 the latest. But you kind of want to be behind your computer all set and comfortable at like 4 p.m. I think 2 hours in advance. I think that's kind of like flying, you know?
Is that what you did for the Casters tournament? Played Eye of the Tiger and got ready all day?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I tried to get warmed up. I didn't try to overdo it, but I also didn't want to underdo it, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to have cold hands. You want to make sure you're focused and steady.
Cold hands are the worst, by the way.
I find it very bad if there is no fresh air in my room, because then sometimes I get dizzy, lightheaded, and I can't focus. So. But at the same time, I don't want it to be too cold, you know, so you have to find a proper balance. Anyways, Harstem is running across the map with quite a scary army, but at the same time against Hydralisk, Queens, Banelings, this is a very sentry-heavy army. Now, force fields are so far pretty damn
Nerchio
good.
was just not ready. I mean, he's got some Banes right now coming in from behind, but there are still force fields available. He can let those units tank against the Banelings. Yeah, it doesn't even need to force fields here just yet.
And the most important thing for Harstem is that this Warp Prism dot is still very much so alive. Harstem doing his 54 drones. That Warp Prism does get sniped in the end, but that Warp in finishes, and that is very, very big news for Harstem, because now he actually still has a pretty powerful army.
Wait, is he going to log this army out?
He could run maybe all the way into the main base.
He's going to shade on top of these Hydras, not to let them get away. Get a cost-effective trade again. Oh my god, he blocks them as well. Beautiful.
There are a couple of spine crawlers, but they are behind the mineral line, so they're not incredibly useful at this point. A few more force fields go down, and just like that, Harstem delivers a KO punch, just like that.
I was listening to your shenanigans here. We were just having a random discussion. All of a sudden, it became all too real here, this attack, with sentries and force fields and Harstem.
Yeah, 54 drones or probes, interesting as well.
Quick map 2 win. Very well done.
We used to have the 2 base all-ins, then we had the 3 base all-ins, then we had the 2 base with the fake turret base all-in, and now we've got the 2 base with half saturation. 2.5 base all-in. Let's go.
What's next? What's the next step in evolution?
Back to 2.75.
Carriers all in.
Hey, we had that actually too for a while.
Yeah, MC actually made a bunch of builds like this. Remember when MC against Cass, he went 2 base carriers, and then he did timing with 6 carriers, and Cass died?
Last year, the WESG Grand Finals, Dragar, our South African Protoss, busted out a couple of 2 base carrier builds, and I think he beat Stefano with it.
Really?
Yeah, no, he had a legit build on Overgrowth, because back then the carriers were very cheap.
Did Stefano have anything to say about it? Or?
Yeah, probably just like, let's do 2 base carrier. What the hell? But then he still made top 8. I don't know if it was Stefano. Could have been other Zerg too, but there was a legit 2 base carrier build for a tiny while on Overgrowth. Anyways, game number 3 is going to be played on Catalyst. All memes and jokes and history aside, this is of course a very big series for both of these young men. The winner will get directly seeded into the group stage of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship in Katowice.
I think.
No?
In Kato what?
Katowice. No, kidding. I once said Katowice. Apollo always says Katowice.
Yeah, well, he's the last guy you should listen to for any pronunciation.
I always trust
He's
in
the
Apollo.
worst. Actually, in fact, Apollo, if I remember right, said Katovista. And then I was like, what is this, Windows Vista? He's the absolute worst. Even Poitiers, he said Poitiers. He's the worst, mate.
Better than Portier, I guess. Over here on the left top side of Catalyst, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Zerg. Had a great run today. Can he close it out? It is Nerchio. Nerchio had a good showing as well last year at the World Championship in Katowice, if I recall correctly. I think it was at least top 16. He made it out of the group. Yeah. He played into players, but he lost against a very strong Protoss. I think it was 3-0, but some very close games, either Stats or Zest.
Nerchio actually historically at Intel Extreme Masters has attended a lot of them and done well in a lot of them. Remember one of the first ones he attended? Like he was one of the guys that did well against some of the Koreans. Maybe it was like Puma or something. Didn't he make like a top 4 or something ridiculous? He went very far, I remember. You were a caster there.
Over here on the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of the Dutch Protoss. It is Harstem. Do you remember which one it was?
I think in Germany. The one that Ace won maybe or something. And I remember Puma was there.
Oh, no, I remember. You mean the big one. I think that was in Poland, actually, where Nerchio went quite far.
Okay.
But or maybe it was in Hanover, but there is one World Championship that I missed, actually. I did a couple of them, and there was a final between MC and Puma once, but I don't think Nerchio went very far. And Ace was the very first one.
Yeah.
That was Idra was playing in that one, Moonglade was playing in that one, Squirtle was there, Spirit Moon, by the way.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't think Nerchio was at that one, if I recall.
I remember Nerchio in one of his first tournaments.
I think it's the one that the other... I think it's the one that the man who shall not be named won. I'm not talking about the Zerg, I'm talking about the Terran. And I think that is the one where Nerchio went quite far. I think Yoda won that one. I think that's where Nerchio went far.
No.
No?
No, that one was like...
There was a
LGIM crushing everyone.
Yeah.
And that was on the Heart of the Swarm. basically on like the beta or something. I'm talking about Wings of Liberty for sure.
Okay. I mean, I remember the very first IEM that I ever casted, but that was like a European locked event.
Yeah.
And out of the 16 players, I think 14 were Terran. We had like Tarzan, Mert, Zoki, the Panzer General from Germany.
Goody.
Goody.
How could you forget? Come on.
Wydra was one of the only non-pros. I think
Yeah.
Wydra and Zoki were the only non-protosses.
Yeah. Well, what's better, two representatives for Protoss?
The Muslim was there. Show, who ended up winning it. Our Hearthstone legend these days.
Oh, yeah, the one in Ukraine, that was... I remember the finals. I was like, wow, Medivacs, and he's dropping everywhere. He's so good, nobody else is doing this. Now you will look back at these games, it's like, what the hell?
Was Show against Wydra in the final, right?
Yeah.
And Tarzan versus the Muslim was... Oh no, it was Goody against the Muslim for third and fourth place. Good old days, 2010. 2011 actually, very early on 2011. As this Stalker has picked off the Overlord, we see another gateway being warped in the wall, so for Harstem is keeping it close. Once again, the Oracle. Now, if you guys just joined in and you're wondering, why do we always see a Stargate opening? It's honestly, guys, because Stargate is just super solid against all-ins. You don't have to worry about almost any all-in if you open up with a Stargate. A Stargate guarantees some damage on the other side of the map as well, because spore crawlers that are being built, that's damage. In a weird way, that is damage that Harstem is doing to the economy of Nerchio with the way that Zerg works. So in that way, you slow them down, and then of course, you know, the Oracle gives you map presence. It allows you to keep track of what your opponent is doing. It's not so much about damage you can do with it. Well, obviously, if you can kill a couple of drones, that's fantastic, and that's what you're always looking for, but it's absolutely not worth it to lose your Oracle just to kill a few workers. It's more about keeping it alive and having some map presence.
You know that Nerchio, by the way, you know how much money he's earned in his career?
I have to make a guess. I would say $248,000.
326.
Damn, that's even way more than I thought.
And is the second highest earning foreigner.
Yeah?
Snoot is first, 353.
Where's Neep?
Fourth. Actually, he's got almost the same as Stefano. 283
Really?
for both of them, and Neeb is $170 behind.
Damn. So Neep
Stefano still has earned more than Neeb.
yeah, but I mean, that's not going to last long if Neep keeps playing the way he does.
Yeah, why so pessimistic?
Because Neep is...
Stefano's gonna come back strong.
Because I mean, no, I believe in Stefano, but I believe even more in Neep. I don't think that's weird. See 20 Zerglings on the production tab for Nerchio. A couple of additional drones as well.
You know, SOS almost got up to MC. He's a couple thousands behind.
I mean, he qualified for the Into Extreme Masters already.
Yeah. Adept's gonna start on heading across the map here, even before the Robo, and any kind of Warprism is there. You forgot one.
He left one behind.
The one that got left behind.
Oh, this is actually quite bad. Those links, I don't think those adepts can shade out immediately. And Glaives is not done yet, Todd. If Glaives were done, then these links would have melted. And obviously quite a few links did go down, but this is still a very nice pickoff, because now everything that Harstem is doing is so much weaker.
Now Glaives completes as well. It's just there's not enough adepts anymore for it to be relevant. He's going to have to cancel that and maybe go home.
What a nice catch there for Nerchio. Harstem is not going to commit to the shade. So in the previous game, where he was able to get a couple of drones here and there, where he really kept Nerchio busy, this time he will not. I think Nerchio thought is going to make nothing but Lings and Hydras. I don't think he needs to make Banelings in a game like this. Just when I say that, he actually goes back to droning. It seems like Nerchio is not a fan of these low drone attacks.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be that aggressive, right?
Ooh, this is
when he's so good on 3 bases with full saturation, I guess that's what he prefers to do in general. What's going on here? There's no unit.
Yeah, very solid run by the Adepts. We're not home yet, so Nerchio once again picks off 2 Adepts. Tries to get the Stalker there too. The Stalker is very low on HP, but he got 7 probes. That's awesome. Oh my god. Harstem is a little bit out of place right now. Only
Look at that Hydra.
Just
No muscular augments yet.
How many Adepts have died in this game? 7, 8-ish? 7. And 8 probes. I mean, that's very juicy. For 47 Zerglings, I think that Nerchio is quite pleased with how all of this went. Once again, Todd, he's rushing into that lurker den.
Yeah, that's Nerchio for you. Again, just so good with his lurkers. And in this game, just looking at the tech and all that, you have to appreciate Nerchio's position. It's not like Harstem's out of it just yet, but you know, the gases on the 3rd base are going to be delayed by the amount of walkers that he lost. Obviously, he's still going for charge and all that, but against a Zerg that can get to lurkers very quickly and that's as good with them as Nerchio is, you have to be worried here as a Protoss player.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the economy, things are looking quite alright for Harstem, even though there are 11 drones on the way for Nerchio, so he will finally retake the lead. But they were quite even for a little while, and that's obviously, you know, not necessarily where Nerchio wants to be in this matchup. But it does feel that the additional tech, the real units that Harstem is looking for, then it was all a little bit late because of all the adapts he made and a couple of probes that he lost. Storm is just on the way, +1, more than halfway done, but that's about it. Charge has finished up, but I don't know. The Immortal count isn't really there yet. The Archon count isn't really there yet. The amount of gateways that you would like to have in this phase in the game isn't truly there yet. So let's see if Nerchio can find an opening with all of his units as he's setting up his multi-prong attack.
Yeah, I like that. He starts working on the rocks all over the place, even before going for the actual attacks. That's going to give him a lot of initiative at the last second. You know, maybe he can send like 1 or 2 links in, see what army is where, and then decide where he actually attacks. But
that is so risky. I feel like he's bluffing. Oh, actually, where he said he had Templars to the top side. I didn't see the adepts at first. I was like, if he ends up losing his High Templars here, because it almost felt like he was bluffing that he's got Storm. But fortunately for Harstem, he had a couple of adepts there as well. So it wasn't that bad.
7 lurkers. And the thing is, Harstem doesn't have that much vision on the map. Like, I don't think he can even see those guys coming. So if they burrow next to the gates that he has on his left-hand side of his third base here, Harstem will be in big trouble here in the defense against this.
Yep, and he didn't win that fight either, Todd, on the right side. Maybe in the end it's going to be some sort of a standoff or very close. Maybe Harstem barely survives, but he lost a lot of his levels, lost quite a few adepts as well. And Nerchio is applying some serious pressure. But with 5 Immortals, Todd, I do kind of believe. But it seems like Nerchio is almost trapping this army of Harstem. This is quite odd.
Yeah, I mean, these lurkers, they didn't even have that many units nearby, but as long as they're clumped up, they're going to do so much damage on top of this army. Now the siege on the third base is going to be the real threat on the right-hand side. Looks like Harstem might be able to clean up, but not before taking a lot of damage. 2 of these lurkers are even escaping.
He lost a lot of his High Templars though, Todd, and that is a big problem. He lost like 3 of them. He lands a Storm there on just a single Hydra. I love the way that Nerchio's splitting up his lurkers as well, because I don't think there is a single observer out on the map. He's making one right now, but it almost feels like his robot's unpowered. It feels like it's taking forever. So the only thing he has is an Oracle, but obviously the Oracle can't tag everything. That observer, Todd, is desperately needed.
Yeah, and he's starting now. I mean, he's just so late. These dude is a revelation right about now. That Nexus even under danger. Okay, there's that one right there. Took his sweet time to finally get there. I guess he should send only the Immortals, but Nerchio keeps on threatening on the right-hand side. He knows that Harstem right about now should be moving in position to try and clean up the lurkers. So he's like, well, the rest of units are going to be exposed then. He's even going to run by Hydras into the wall.
Damn, a couple of Hydras are dancing in the natural right now of Harstem. Few more Hydras are getting stormed on the top side though, but once again 1 or 2 High Templars do go down. But I must say Harstem, you know, he did a good job at keeping his army alive, but he's lost 47. I think he forgot about that one lurker behind the mineral line. Can we take a look at the lurker? How many kills? 27 kills! He forgot about that one. He cleaned up the 3 lurkers on the north side, but he forgot about the one behind the mineral line. And that lurker just wiped out everything.
Just an absolute butcher here, getting all of those very important kills. And then Harstem, his supply is about half of Nerchio's right now. He's trying to stay alive in this one, but I mean, 26 walkers, he's not going to be able to produce anything that scary. I feel like he needs to go for the fight right now. Just move across the map, go for broke, try to land the best storms you've ever landed.
I mean, that's a Hail Mary if I've ever seen one with this little Protoss army. But let's see if 4 Immortals and a couple of Storms can do. Did he already have a Baning Nest, or did he cancel it earlier in this game? I guess he canceled it after he killed the Adepts in the middle. Yeah, well, that's actually kind of smart. He felt like he didn't need it anymore, which was indeed correct. So Harstem's last-ditch effort, he's going to be, I mean, Nerchio is going to bait out as many Storms as he can, and then eventually he can clean up this army as he's coming in from every angle. It's storming, it's raining, man! But in the end, this Protoss army will get cleaned up, and Nerchio takes the 2-1 lead.
Oof, that was an insane push here by Nerchio, who's, you know, despite not going for the attack that, you know, you called he could have gone for and lower drone count, he's so aggressive. Like, you can tell. He does not want to play the late game. He wants to get into his opponent's face. He's very good at splitting, kind of like in a Pult-esque fashion, actually, you know, with 2 pack of units, and always moving the one away that's being engaged into with enough forces, and doing very good job of that.
Awesome. If you look at it, I mean, he's got units all the way on the right side. He's making it so awkward for Harstem. And I felt like Harstem had a good read on what he was going up against. He did a pretty damn decent job this time. He's splitting up his army. But what he didn't expect, all the expected units from the left and from the right, suddenly they came through the middle as well, up that ramp. And a couple of High Templars were exposed. And these lurkers on the left side, they came way too close. And those gates, the 3 gates that were going up there, those gates were needed. He really, really, really needed that extra production. The observer was late, and then Nerchio obviously doing a great job in splitting off one of those lurkers.
It's weird because you put gates there because you don't want Ling and Banelings to roll in there and blow up your probes, but at the same time they could still be dropped, and then if you get sieged in that position and you lose your gates, you're in so much trouble because then a lot of your production is being shut down.
I do feel, though, that everything could have been different if he had a slightly faster observer. I think that the Oracle running out of energy, I think that's where things became really problematic, because it wasn't just the lurkers that were doing damage on the pylons and the gates. He had to pull 22 probes away. And, you know, while that battle is going on, that's a long battle, guys. That's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes going on. All those probes were not mining. And then when he finally thought he cleaned it up, he sent those probes back, and then there's one lurker left that kills all of them.
Maybe Harstem is not as good against lurkers as against the rest of the units, or maybe it's just Nerchio playing better. Like, it's hard to tell. Like, I personally find lurkers very hard to deal with, so I kind of would understand where it comes from, but...
I've got a tip for you, though.
Phoenixes?
And DTs. You never lose the lurkers,
yeah, you never?
No, I mean,
you never worry about lurkers?
No. I mean, if they make lurkers, they don't have enough NTR to deal with the Phoenix. So they're forced to play Mass Hydra.
Did you tell that to Harstem before? Or?
Nah, they don't believe in my style. Every now and then, when he sees it in action, Harstem is always like, ah.
Would you be Nerchio with that style?
No,
lurkers?
You know, I actually played. When did I play Nerchio? In a WCS qualifier not too long ago. In the first game, I tried to all-in him, and I killed a bunch of drones, but it wasn't enough. The second game, I tried my macro build, and he kind of just went for it of like 51, 52 drones, Hydra Ling all-in. And it was close, and I felt if I would have done one thing a tiny bit better, maybe I could have held. But no, I think Nerchio is just on a different level. As he is, of course, our Polish Zerg spawning on the left top side, representing Euronics, an absolute beast. A great day for him today. Can he close it out? King Arthur. And on the right bottom side, the man who soon should be the captain of Rotterdam. If I can finally hand my gift to him.
Even against his will.
Representing Asterion, it is Harstem. I think he would appreciate it.
Cheers for Ajax. That's hilarious.
He's not a big football fan. But he said if he had to choose, he'd choose Ajax. But
oh my God.
if I have a couple drinks with him, I'll change his mind. Show him what the beauty is all about. You know, if he would live near Amsterdam, I could sort of live with it. But this guy lives in the smog of Rotterdam. He is absolutely...
Take him to a few games.
Yeah, I would love
Try to ignite his passion.
Oh, I will. He would love it.
Would he though?
Yes, he would. Everyone. If you go to that magical temple once, you're sold.
I don't know. Back in the day, I went to Marseille's game. And I wasn't that enthusiastic about it after going.
In Velodrome.
Yeah, after they had a bunch of draws and played horrible.
You know, one of the most memorable games of Dutch football of all time was played in Velodrome. In the World Cup in 1996, in quarterfinal against Argentina. Great goal by Dennis Bergkamp.
It was 1998, no?
Yeah, sorry, 98. 96 was European Championship in England. Yeah,
I remember everybody was wearing, I think, a Netherlands shirt and stuff for some time.
Yeah.
I remember asking someone, where did they get all these shirts? Because they all have the same. And somebody was like, oh yeah, no, a truck somewhere like crashed, and then and everybody grabbed shirts from it. Still can't tell to this day if he was serious, but probably not.
That's the beauty of the story, yeah? So Ascension to Ire is the map that could potentially be the final game of this Intel Extreme Masters Katowice European Server Qualifier. Once again, we are going to see the Stargate here. I guess Harstem just feels like his hand is forced. If I think back of some of his Adept all-ins, I think it would make a lot more sense on smaller maps. Ascension to Ire is quite a long map. If you look at the amount of... Obviously, you have to always go up a ramp. But I think if Harstem decides to go up to 4 bases, Nerchio has a lot of potential to attack, right?
Yeah.
Like, he can siege up ramps. We know that he loves to do it. This is also a map where Harstem could set himself up so defensively on top of those ramps that I can see Nerchio morph 6 or 7 drop lords and just doom drop the main. Like, if any Zerg is capable of it, it's him.
Yeah, and that was the game, or like the map where earlier we saw a game where Nerchio went into that hive tech, made a lot of roulots, and then went for a big push. So gonna have to be very careful not to let that happen again, because Harstem just kind of fell apart against these attacks.
And once again, a quick Twilight. You know, a little while ago when Harstem was talking about PvZ, he said, it's not so much that I think that Zerg is that much stronger against Protoss. He's like, I just feel that I cannot always do the same, and that's the biggest thing. I feel like I can only win if I catch them off guard, if I keep them in the dark somehow, or they miss scout. But I don't feel there is one build that I can truly do multiple times in a row and be okay with, feel comfortable and don't feel like I have to do a lot of damage early on. But it seems like he has really found his place, at least with this build, because he's been doing it a lot of games in a row and he seems very comfortable with it.
Yeah, I guess if it's the one style that he works on the most, it makes sense to go for it. But by now, Nerchio must have kind of figured it out a lot better. So you can always expect him to be a lot more ready. It doesn't feel like Harstem is missing that much, right, to find some more success against Nerchio. It's more like, I don't know, he needs to scout a little bit better. Maybe have one observer across the map, really seeing what's coming out at all times. Or maybe right outside his third or fourth base, because against the lurkers, it's a completely different game if you can prevent them from sieging. If they siege very easily close to your base, you've basically lost the game. If you do like Showtime and you're always in the right position, you don't let them siege easily, then you can do so much better against them.
I also often think that in StarCraft, like one player's weakness is the other player's strength, right? Like it looks like Harstem's weakness is that he's out of position. But I think it's safe to say that Nerchio is an absolute master in like army mobility and just running across the map all the time, always being active. And it may seem pointless from time to time, and sometimes it may seem like he's running circles, but he's running circles to find an opening in the defenses of his opponent. And you can move correctly 3, 4, 5 times in a row. The 6th time you're way out of position, you can suddenly end up losing a crucial base, and that very well could cost you the game.
Damn, the 6K MMR analysis.
6006, Todd. The 6 extra points, don't forget about them.
6,000. Oh, I thought you meant 6,600. I was like, whoa, you had a big jump.
No. then I would be a boosted boy, mate. Like, no man improves that fast. I guarantee you that.
You'd be playing the thing.
Yeah, no.
Taking some nerds' name.
6,600, that's so legit. Those guys are so good.
Well, 6,000 is legit, I think, as well.
Yeah, but still, it feels like such a big difference, man. Like, I mean, that's the beauty of StarCraft, right? You're never really satisfied, no matter how hard you push yourself. And
it's like bodybuilding, right?
Or you're happy for a day, and then you just look up, and that's, I mean, that's I think what makes this game so awesome. It's, yeah, you're happy, you're satisfied, and it's like, all right, on to the next challenge.
I think even the guys that are rank 1 are not happy even. Like,
no,
they want to get more points ahead. They want to crush people more.
I think unless you win like 4 WCS or 4 GSLs or BlizzCon back to back, you're never really happy, Because even when you win BlizzCon, there's people are like, well, 5, 6 other players have won BlizzCon up to this point. I want to be more. I want to win.
So basically, nobody's ever happy, but they're all trying to achieve greatness.
No, of course. I mean, I think only with absolute domination.
Is that a storm drop or adepts?
Not just adepts. This is something that Showtime does a lot, and I think it's actually quite cute. You drop 2 adepts behind a mineral line, and you try to one-shot workers a couple of times. And
without glaives, I don't think it would be that good, but with glaives, it's so dangerous.
I mean, it's still just one volley, right?
Yeah, but they shoot so much slower.
That's true.
Like with glaives, it just feels like they're...
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah. They are drone slayers. Look at this.
Always shoot together. Ooh, misfire there. That's a shame. Harstem missed it. This is normally not something I think you want to do.
Whoa!
But, I mean,
there's nothing here.
I mean, there is a lot of units on the other side of the map, though. That's a lot of links trying to run in.
Trying to break through.
Oh, that immortal. Oh! That makes life a lot easier.
He can force field them as this ends. Oh my god. The links got into the main somehow.
Yep, and that immortal's probably going to fall as well. He is going to at least sort of re-wall, so now all he has to deal with are these Zerglings, but... I mean, does he have enough to clean up these Hydras?
Trying to go for the force field, but those let those Hydras get away. On the other side of the map, those adepts still going to work. They got 10 drones in total.
I still don't like it for Harstem if he ends up losing Immortals, though. 10 drones is nice, don't get me wrong, but losing Immortals is very painful. Okay.
Damn, these guys. How many kills? 8, 9.
8, 9, 17.
That's you and me. MVP.
That is, I mean, that's why that drop is so successful, and that's why you see that drop being used so often.
7 Mutas on the way now for Nerchio. One of his trademark was to go for the Mutas for a long time, but I mean, if I look at what Harstem has, he can just warp in a couple Stalkers, get some cannons in his middle lines, and with the amount of drones that he killed, he might just be happy whopping in a lot of units and going for an attack here.
I still think that these mutas are going to do quite a bit of work though, Todd, because there is no Blink, there is no Phoenix on the map, and even if you know that this is coming, it's still going to be very hard. This Protoss army is very slow and clunky, and it's not incredibly good in dealing with air units, at least not yet. Obviously, in a straight-up fight, these mutas are useless, don't get me wrong. The Archons will just destroy them. But it's about the fact that they're going to fly into the main base. Harstem is still resting on the other side of the map as well, though, so that's quite nice. Perhaps that is his answer against the Mutalist.
Yeah, he needs a couple cannons, though, in his middle lines and to start whopping Stalkers. To by the time he starts a Phoenix, actually, which also can be very helpful against this. Like, Nerchio doesn't want to commit to any more mutas. He's just going to make this few. Try to do some economic damage, try to fly around, buy himself some time. But behind this, you shouldn't expect to see more mutas, I think.
I mean, this is, if it would only be 11 death
God.
probes, it would have been worth it. But now Harstem is not just losing probe stuff, he's losing mining time.
He's not mining in the main, in the natural, or in the third base.
That
Look at
is
his income down there. He's 55 right now.
Sounds like mine, Todd.
Oh, shut it, man. You're doing well.
I know.
You got at least 2 base saturation.
And I'm working on that expand, baby. Phoenix does get picked up. Damn, look at this. 22 probes have gone down just against 6 or 7 mutas. These muta switches, Todd, you gotta love them, right, if you're a Zerg player. It just makes a lot of sense. In the old days, they were scary as well, don't get me wrong, but Protoss players pretty much always opened up with Blink Stalkers. And finding openings against Blink Stalkers is a lot more difficult than doing against the Protoss army that has Archons, yeah, very good in the straight-up fight, terrible in defending harass. Stalkers without Blink, pretty terrible in defending harass, and that's about it. Like, sentries are obviously not a real option either.
Yeah, this is again the time when Nerchio is going to be trying to attack all across the board here with his massive army. The army of Harstem is out of position. Oh my god, it's not on the map.
And these mutas are still alive, they're still dealing damage. A few more probes have gone down. The Phoenix have gone
Oh, he
down.
catches the lurkers though, at least 2 of them.
A couple zealots on the north side as well are distracting at least. Harstem, I might be able to clean this up.
Oh, there is one lurker doing so much damage in this, and storms haven't landed yet. Great splits on Nerchio as well to prevent most of the damage from these High Templars.
That's 3 High Templars down the drain, really for not much. And just like that, Harstem is going to tap out as he only had 42 probes left. Nerchio will take this series 3-1 as well and secure his direct seat into the group stage at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship next month here live in
Katowice.
Katowice, as Apollo would say. Nah, what a great run by Nerchio today, Todd. Not only did he defeat Harstem twice, he also took care of Elise. He took care of Serral.
Yeah.
That's super impressive.
2 of Europe's finest. Let's take a look at the brackets so we can give you guys an overview of all the action that happened today. We had Showtime and New Thermal making it in the upper brackets, and in quite convincing fashion, might I say. Showtime beating Stefano, Nerchio, and then Namshar. He passed the Zerg test. It feels like Showtime. Every one of those qualifiers, he's like, Zerg after Zerg. I hope your PvZ is good.
I mean, that's
and most of the time it is.
Yeah, that's what you need to do, right? If you want to succeed in Europe, you have to take out quite a few Zergs. As Europe is dominated by Zergs these days.
What about Uthermal, though? We haven't seen some Terran success in one of those qualifiers in a very long time. Comes out swinging, beats Trap 2-0, then Bly 2-0, and then a 3-2 against Serral. Very convincing, and I think he was pretty happy with it, tweeted about it, that he didn't really expect to do well, but apparently when this guy doesn't expect to do well is when he does the best.
Great run by Uthermo indeed. Gets his revenge on Serral because he lost in the semifinals in Barcelona just a couple months ago. Lost 3-2, and back then said he's like, shouldn't have lost that, you know. I play better online. I honestly think I could have won. This time he did win. 2 fantastic. I mean, what a perfect race distribution we have today, Todd. We've got a Protoss and a Terran from the upper bracket. Let's take a look at the lower bracket as well.
David Kim is killing it.
Yes, as we have Nerchio in the end succeeding in taking out Harstem for the 2nd time in this qualifier. And so he too will get directly seeded into the group stage. Any results that really jump out for you here, Todd?
Just not seeing either Elaser or Serral making it is, I think, quite a big surprise. It's good to see some surprises in there as well. Like obviously Namshar didn't make it, but he had a great performance. Uthermal, though, definitely the guy, you know, that really come out and surprise a lot of people with a fantastic performance.
I'm just as surprised about Nerchio, though. I mean,
Yeah.
especially in the way the players that he took out today. That is ridiculous. He even took out
ZvP is
Snoot.
supposed to be his matchup,
Oh my
like where he
God.
struggles more.
I didn't even see that he also 2-0'd
Yeah.
Snoot. That's amazing. What a run.
Apparently, ZvP troubles is a thing of the past for Nerchio.
That is an absolutely incredible run by King Arthur himself. Can't wait to see what he will bring. Of course, in his hometown, Katowice, next month. There's a good chance that...
As if.
No, I think he's from Warsaw, right?
No, Katowice mentioned the city name earlier. I don't remember.
Lot?
I don't remember.
All right. Well,
Not Lodge. You're thinking Karolina Kowalkiewicz, the fighter.
he's from somewhere from Poland, and I know that he loves to compete at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships, as I think everybody does. But if you're Polish, it must feel a little extra special, because you know that passionate Polish
Net
community.
Wars.
Yeah, it's going to show up.
They're going to be there
Of course.
with a big flyer thing.
There
making
is
some
always
noise.
lines. We have this big show in the auditorium as well, which is basically a big cinema hall. There's always lines there, Todd. It just feels good when you're here and you see all those people love StarCraft so much. I'm excited. I mean, we've got a Zerg, we've got a Protoss, we've got a Terran. What more can we ask for?
Well, the same thing to happen in every qualifier, I guess.
Well, we're going to have another one of these tomorrow, which I think should be in roughly 24 hours from now on. I think it's supposed to start at...
1 a.m. Central European time,
Okay.
so 24 hours and 24 and half an hour.
Yep, 24 hour and 30 minutes. We're going to continue with the American Qualifier, but that's not everything. Today, phase 1 of the American Qualifier is happening. You'll definitely be able to catch a couple of games here and there, and you'll see which players will obviously come in action tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for I, Todd, Rotterdam, and Katowice. This is us here saying goodbye until tomorrow, 1 a.m., where we're back with the North American Qualifier. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and have a good night.